Hi, my name is Eric, and today we're going to talk about what it means to be evaluated. And why do I bring that up? Well, I ran into it yesterday with my wife, where this is coming at it from a caregiver side. And I would imagine a lot of you caregivers will say, hey, I know how that feels. So, anyhow, uh, I took her for appointments, and I was sitting in the truck, and I knew it was coming. But the psych nurse come out and said, Eric, the doctor would like to talk to you. All right. And he said, well, what we'd like to do is we'd like to have you take her over to the hospital to be evaluated. Wait a minute. What are you doing? Are you not a psychiatrist that can do evaluations? And normally, what I'm sorry to say, that's the state of the mental health community in New York. And I don't blame it all on the people that are professionals in that profession because they keep having funding and funding and funding taken from them. Thank you, Ms. Hogle. So he said, well, do you think she's off? And I said, of course she's off. I said that I get one, maybe two good days, and the rest are terrible. The screaming, the voices, just, where she's not eating because the voices tell her not to eat. Where once I get home, she has a quick sandwich and takes her night meds at 3:30 in the afternoon to go to bed. And then she gets up all hours of the night and goes out and listens to country music on the TV. And that became my new normal. You ever heard that term before? When craziest becomes your new normal, then the system is letting everybody down. So what I ended up doing was I said, what do you want to do? And he said, well, I'd like to have you take her over to the hospital if you could and have her be evaluated over there. And the hospital that she goes to is acute intake of psych. The only hospital other than Utica, which is quite a ways away, that handles psych. They have a whole unit for the children's and the adults. So that's where you got to go if it's psych related. So I tried explaining to him, I said that when she was released 2 times ago, the she used to be a psych nurse. She's a ball buster. I love her, Jamie. But she her she feels that her job, she's a PA, she feels that her job now is to clear everybody out. And I shouldn't say this, but if you've maxed out your days with Medicare, you're not coming on the unit because you're costing them. The hospital ends up eating quite a bit of that because she can't pay for that. My wife can't pay for that with her Medicare. She has only just so many days. So I explained to the psychiatrist, I said, we've been through this, I don't know how many times. I'm telling you right now that once she gets over there, Jamie is going to cut her loose. Simply that. That she's not causing that much of a problem compared to the ones upstairs. Send her home. And sometimes it makes you feel like, well, they think that you're just trying to get rid of the, the care the caregiver is trying to pawn them off per se, and it's never been that case with me. Personally, I'd rather have her home, and I'd like to see her on the right medication so that the quality of life is there for her. So I explained to the psychiatrist, I said, it wasn't over a month ago that she came in. She was brought in by what we call the MET team. They pick up and drop off patients for appointments, and they're nurses. Very nice group. So they picked her up. They took her to her appointment. She had a therapy session and then the doctor. All right, so I got home from work and she should have been home or close to being home. Still nothing. So I texted one of the nurses that picks up and drops off. And I said, "What's going on? Do I need to run and get her?" Or no. We decided that all of us decided that she needed to be evaluated. She's decompensated so much that we're almost to Hepburn. Oh, okay. And what's that going to amount to? Well, that way she gets an evaluation and maybe some med adjustments upstairs. So they aren't going to accept her. I'm telling you right now, you just wasted your trip going over. The one thing I do not like about the system is nobody talks to each other. One thinks they're better than the other, and you're not. You need to do what's best for the patient, not what's best for you, and not get on your high horse and, you know, try to say that the outreach clinic is less of. But so he said, well, she needs to be evaluated. I said, okay. So she was evaluated 2 weeks ago when the state troopers picked her up and took her over. They kept her for a 72-hour hold, cut her loose. No medication changes, no nothing. So she was doing fine. By the time evening showed up, when she got home, things were the same way. She can she can do what I call masking, and that is she can pull herself together enough to look sane, even when she's right off the deep end. I've had her taken when her father come up from Yonkers. I had it so that the doctors thought that he and I were crazy, and she was the same one. That's how well she can do it. Hey. But the psychiatrist is still very adamant. We can't let her go unless she is evaluated. I said, well, you just got done with an evaluation. What do you think? Well, I think she needs to go to the hospital to get medication changes. I said, all right. Then are you going to contact the hospital? Let them know I'm coming. And tell them you want her to be put upstairs to have the evaluation intake, go upstairs and try new meds. Yes, I will call them. And I will be here till 7 o'clock tonight. And the registered nurse come in and said, I'm going to also call them and with the intake so that they know you're coming. Okay. So it took us 45 minutes to get there. We got there. And Sarah, a lovely lady, she is also a nurse for psych. And she does a lot of the intakes. She's like, what are you here for? Governor said she had to be evaluated. Really? Yep. Didn't they get a hold of you? Nope. At least I haven't heard anything. So they do a quick assessment, blood pressure, all that stuff, get her in her gown, have her sign papers or me sign papers for Medicare. And the ER happened to be inundated with a lot of patients. The overflow at that point was, I would believe, 9 to 11 people were on beds in the hall with a screen around half of them. Yeah. Honestly, I felt like doing a triage where I was an EMT for years. I felt like just stepping up and saying, all right, I'm going to go from room to room to room, and this is how you're going to clear out this ER. There's a lot of people down here that shouldn't be here. Either ship them upstairs You don't need a lot of tests to figure out something that's going on with something, you know. But after 2 hours of sitting there, the doctor did come over briefly and said he would talk with her doctor. So 2 hours later, sitting there twiddling my fingers, and I asked Sarah, I said, Sarah, when is Kath going to be evaluated? And she said, well, sometime soon. I said, what are you saying is soon? I said, I believe the shift changes take place 7 to 7:30, correct? Tonight? She said, yep. I said, that's 2 hours away. I said, her Dr. K is going to be in his office till 7 o'clock tonight. And that the doctor here in the ER that makes the call needs to call him, and so that he can express his concerns to the doctor. And the two of them can figure it out. Well, I'm not sure she's going to be seen by then. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? I said, the dogs are in the house. I said, I live 45 minutes away. I said, is she still going to be in the hall come morning and yet to be evaluated? Oh, no, it won't be that long. I said, so what do I do? Do I sit here and wait? Or do I go home, check on the dogs, get dinner, and just kind of relax? I chose the latter. I chose going home, checking on the dogs, giving them something to eat, and I was going to head right back over. And talking with her sister, I told her, I said, this is what's going on. And I said, it's bullshit. And I said, I just feel like I want to relax, have a few beers, get a dinner in me, and go to bed and not answer the phone if it rings. She said, do it. What? She said, do it. Do what you need to do so that you can stay healthy. So it's almost 7:30 the following morning. 7:30 this morning. No calls from the hospital. So I know she's still sitting, laying on a bed in the hallway in the ER, waiting to be evaluated. So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is, you caregivers, you need to take my sister-in-law's advice. You need to do what you need to do to stay healthy and sane. Now, I can just imagine what I would be this morning with taping this had I not gotten any sleep and I stayed up all night long with her over to the hospital and still nobody had come. I would have screamed. I would have been very vocal, and they wouldn't have liked it over there. Whereas I got a good night's sleep, the dogs are doing great, and I'm at work. And I got my rest. So when they say you need to be evaluated, it just says you need to be seen by a psychiatrist. Why a psychiatrist would say that their patient needs to be evaluated again by another psychiatrist is beyond me. But I do know in the state of New York, if you're going to involuntary put somebody in the hospital, it takes two psychiatrists to sign off on it. But 99.9% of the people that are taken into the acute mental health unit are on what they call voluntary status. You're voluntary until you decide you're going to leave before the 72 hours are up. If you try to leave, and even if the 72 hours are up and the psychiatrists don't feel that you're ready, then they can hold you involuntary. But that shows up on your records for life. So the better answer is go involuntary and stay voluntary and do what you need to do to get yourself well. And I know you caregivers are probably sitting there, just shaking your head. Been there, done that. Well, so have I, hundreds of times. I'm sorry to say, hundreds of times. And I finally learned how to detach what's going on with her, how it relates to me. Used to be, I'd get very upset. I feel like I did something wrong. I caused this somehow, this craziness, and none of it's the truth. And I finally had to detach enough to say, okay, I need to look at it from everybody else's view. Everybody else is saying, why do you put up with it? Because I love her. That's why I put up with it, and she's my wife. But if you're in New York State, God bless you, you know. And I guess when it comes to vote, that's how you're going to get better mental health coverage back in our state. So I hope you're having a great day, a great morning. And if you have any questions or comments, put them down below. I mean, I don't like to air my laundry, but I think that a lot of caregivers and even patients need to hear this. There's two sides of every coin, and that is the person that's taking care of you or the person you're taking care of, and where you need to put boundaries in place for yourself, for each other. If you're the patient, do what you have to get yourself better. That's your main goal. Don't fake it till you make it. Talk to your doctor, let them know what's exactly going on with you, and how to take care of it. For the caregiver, you need time. You need time to wind down, and don't let it become your problem, because these outreach clinics and stuff will try to make it your problem. And it's not your problem. It's one you're taking care of's problem. And they need to own it. If you're the patient, you need to own it and take the necessary steps to get back on wellness. All right, so rambled on long enough. Hope you guys have a great day and enjoy. Thanks so much.